In this video, we're going to look at how you can create more comfort in your life, especially as you get older. Comfort is something special. It's not something you can buy or force, nor is it something you can just sort out. Comfort is often something you find gradually, sometimes unexpectedly, sometimes only after a long time. And yet comfort is something we all need, especially as we get older, when life sometimes becomes a little quieter and there are many changes, or when there is a lot of loss. Today I'd like to explore the questions with you. Where do we find comfort as we get older? And also, how can we sometimes invite that comfort into our lives ourselves? Welcome to Aging Tales. Here we explore what aging really means, not as an endpoint, but as an ongoing invitation to look deeper, live more calmly, and make conscious choices about how we spend our time and attention. Let's explore together. What is comfort? When we hear the word comfort, we often think of sadness, and that's true. Comfort is often needed when something hurts. We have to miss someone or something, or let go. But comfort doesn't mean that sadness disappears straight away. Comfort isn't a magic cure. Comfort is not having to bear your sadness alone for a while. Comfort offers support in many different forms. It is a hand on your shoulder, an arm around you, a cup of tea on the table without anyone saying a word. Comfort is also the feeling that you are allowed to take a breather, that you don't have to fight, that you don't have to prove you're strong. Comfort is actually a form of gentleness. This gentleness can be a truly great gift. Why does comfort become more important as you get older? Getting older is wonderful in many ways. You have experience, you have wisdom, you often know yourself better. But getting older often means that a lot changes in life. There are more moments of saying goodbye. Sometimes you lose a partner. Sometimes you lose friends or family. And sometimes you don't lose someone, but something else. For example, your health, energy, or work. Many people find that their world shrinks a little as they get older. You often have less daily contact with others, but also, you might drive less. You might find it harder to get out and about. Generally speaking, there is more silence. For these reasons, comfort often becomes more important in later life. You realize that some things are simply there. They won't just disappear, but you can learn to live with them. That is a comforting thought. Grief knows no age. Sometimes you hear people say, "Oh well, sadness is just part of life at that age." That's a strange reaction, and a painful one too, because sadness isn't part of anything. Sadness is sadness. The pain remains just as painful. It's not as though you feel less sadness just because you're older. Sometimes you actually feel it more keenly, precisely because as you get older, you often have fewer distractions, or perhaps fewer friends, or less freedom of movement. Grief in the form of loss comes in waves. One day you're coping reasonably well, and the next day you wake up, and it's as if it's all starting over again. And sometimes you don't just grieve for people. Sometimes you grieve for things that nobody else can see. You might grieve for your body as it grows older, for the fact that you can't do everything you used to, for the freedom you're slowly losing, or for plans you once had but which are no longer possible. These are silent losses, less visible but just as real. Comfort often begins with acknowledgement. This loss hurts me, and that's not strange. Letting go is difficult. That's only human. The misconception, I have to be strong. Many people have grown up with a certain idea of what it means to be strong. Being strong meant carrying on. Not whinging, not crying, not complaining. And don't get me wrong, that mindset has its good sides too, such as perseverance, responsibility, and character. But there's also a downside to it. Because if you always have to be strong, then you're never allowed to be weak. And sometimes life is just hard, unfair, or painful. And telling yourself that you shouldn't make a fuss doesn't help. Being strong isn't the same as keeping quiet. True strength sometimes means saying, I miss him. I miss her. I'm scared. I feel lonely. That's not weakness. That's honesty. And often comfort only comes when you allow yourself to be honest. Comfort is often found in the little things. When people think of comfort, they sometimes think of big things. A fresh start, a major change, a solution. But comfort is often found in the little things, rituals or habits. It's a cup of coffee in the morning. The smell of fresh bread, a chair you love to sit in, a song from your childhood. Music can suddenly transport you back to a time when you felt safe, or to a time when someone you miss was still alive. Comfort can also be found in rituals. Picking up the newspaper every morning, taking a quick look outside before going to bed, a short walk after dinner. For many people, pets are also a huge source of comfort. A dog that nuzzles you for a moment. A cat that simply comes and lies down beside you without asking. The beauty of small moments of comfort is you can often simply give them to yourself. Comfort through connection. Comfort often feels stronger when you share it with someone. Sometimes just one conversation is enough to make you feel human again. Not because the problem has been solved, but because for a moment, you're not alone. It's remarkable how big the difference can be between I'm carrying this burden alone and someone knows about this. Many people don't want to burden others, but often people actually want to do something for you. And sometimes the best gift you can give someone is letting them comfort you. Comfort isn't always found in large groups of friends. Sometimes one person is enough. A neighbor, a friend, a former colleague, or a family member. Sometimes professional help can also be a great support. A GP, a bereavement counselor, a volunteer. It's not about the number of people. What matters when it comes to comfort is that you feel a genuine connection with one another. Finding comfort in meaning. One of the hardest things about getting older is that some roles fade away. You might no longer be working. You might not be as needed as you used to be. For your children, for example. And that can leave you feeling empty. People need a sense of purpose, a feeling that they themselves are meaningful, the feeling that they matter. So you can also find comfort simply by doing something for others. For example, by making a difference to someone else's life. Having a chat with someone who is lonely. Doing voluntary work. Reading aloud at school. Helping someone with paperwork. Looking after a grandchild. Sometimes simply saying to someone, I'm glad you're here. Or passing on your knowledge. Older people have the life experience that younger people lack, and you can use this to help others. And the wonderful thing is, when you feel a sense of purpose, a kind of peace often comes naturally. A feeling that my life isn't over, I'm still somebody. It's remarkable that by comforting others, you often find comfort yourself. Comfort in acceptance. Acceptance is a tricky word. Some people think that acceptance means not minding something or pretending you don't mind it. That is not what acceptance is. Acceptance does not mean that you like it. Nor does acceptance mean that you give up. Acceptance means acknowledging that this is now your reality. When you keep fighting against reality, it takes an enormous amount of energy. And in later life, you often have less of that energy. Acceptance is also a form of peace, an inner calm, because you know, right, this is what it is. And when you can feel that, space opens up. Space for kindness. Space to stop being angry all the time at yourself, your neighbors, the world. You can then let go of your bitterness. Sometimes the most comforting thing you can say to yourself is, it's okay for it to be difficult for now. Comfort and remembrance. Many people try to push their sadness aside by not looking back too much. They say, I need to move on. But memories are not your enemy. Memories can hurt, but they can also bring warmth. Sometimes it helps to talk about someone. Not to dwell on the sadness, but to find a place for the love you felt for that person. Because longing is often love. A love that has no other place to go but into memory. Grief often doesn't disappear, but it does change. At first it feels as though you are being overwhelmed. The pain is intense almost every moment. Later it eases. You carry it with you, always, in your bag full of life experiences. Comfort then comes from knowing that this loss is the absence of a gift you once had in your life. Comfort is also gratitude. What can you do as early as tomorrow? When we talk about comfort, it can sometimes seem a bit vague, but comfort can also be very practical. You could ask yourself, what helps me feel 1% lighter? It could be giving someone a call, even if it's just for 5 minutes, or jotting down a few lines. Sometimes writing helps to clear your head. You could make a memory box with photos, letters, and little mementos. Not to make the sadness worse, but to preserve the love. Going for a walk helps too. Even 10 minutes a day can make a difference, and music is often a direct route to emotion. A song can unlock something that's stuck. For some people, deepening their faith is very comforting. Ask yourself how you sought comfort in the past. What helped you do that? Perhaps it's important for you to spend time with others. If so, see if there's a group you could join. A hobby club, a bereavement support group, a church. Have a coffee at the community centre or join a sports club. Attend talks at the library. Check your local newspaper or website to see what's on in your area. There are websites where you can meet people your own age. Think about what you're looking for and tell the AI so it can help you search. Comfort often grows where people come together, and sometimes the bravest step is to say to someone, I need you. Finally, comfort does not mean that everything will go back to the way it used to be. Comfort means learning to live with what is, what was, and perhaps what is yet to come. The most important thing is that you don't have to go through it all alone. Grief is not a weakness. Vulnerability is not a fault. Growing older is not just about loss. Growing older is also about gaining experience and deepening it further. It is in that deepening that comfort can grow. Did you find this video helpful? Like us and subscribe to the channel to receive more stories, practical tips, and brief reflections on aging. Click the bell icon if you'd like to be notified when new videos are posted. That way, you won't miss any of these conversations. Let's continue exploring together.